All very much for coming here this afternoon to hear what I'm sure will be 3 very fascinating, complementary 20-minute sessions. And I've got lots of questions, so if you're short in the last 5 minutes, it will be me asking my questions, because I'm very keen on the subjects that are being presented this afternoon. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Sarah, who will talk about unlocking her stable door.
Thank you, Ruth. So, my name's Sarah Sherman. I work for a consortium of universities in the London area. Our 6 partners are Birkbeck, the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, the Royal Veterinary College, SOAS, UCL's Institute of Education and the University of London. And together we do all sorts of things. We share software licenses, deals that I've negotiated with providers, some of whom are here today. We do joint training, we provide joint materials, training guides. I run lots of events and we do stuff together because between us all we're quite small institutions, and as one combined effort we still are not the size of a normal sized university. So the whole is greater than the sum of its parts is very much our motto. So activity is based around an enhancement theme which we pick every 2 or 3 years. So in 2014 we were looking at assessment and feedback practices. We collated lots of good examples across our partners and shared that with the community. The next enhancement theme, which we started in 2016, was digital capabilities, which is obviously what's brought us all here today. So we've done a lot of different activities as part of this theme. We have designed a MOOC, an award-winning MOOC, I have to add that in, for teachers, any teachers who teach online, whether it's fully blended or completely distance learning, and it teaches and trains them to make their online courses engaging and interactive. It's on Coursera, it's 3 weeks long, it's free, and that's the URL. Also, as part of this theme, we have run the JISC Student Digital Tracker survey, and we've also trialled the staff discovery tool. So the topic that I'm going to be talking to you about today is our pre-enrollment course, which has come out of this same programme. And it's a course to kind of look at students before they start university. We're well aware of all the brilliant stuff that's out there, particularly a lot developed by JISC, on ensuring that students are equipped for entering the workplace, to make sure they're digitally skilled and ready to get earning the bucks. But actually, we were worried in Bloomsbury if we were maybe doing a disservice to our students. Are we equipping them with the technologies that they need for their learning, and in a way to get them before they even start? So it's still a work in progress. But I wanted to sort of talk about the process and where we've got to right now. So we did some research across our 6 partners. We consulted with a number of colleagues, and we ran a couple of surveys with staff and students. So in terms of the consultation, I report to a steering group, which is made up of a couple of senior representatives of each of the 6 partner institutions. So I talked to my advisory board, kind of my line managers, to make sure they were happy with what we were planning. I also have a sort of a dispersed team of learning technologists. We call them the BLE-TEL team. They knew what we were up to. Some of them were involved more heavily in the project. I have a digital capability advisory board, which again is representatives from all the institutions, but from different stakeholder groups. So we have librarians, staff development, a real-life student. We have a number of different people on our board progressing through all of these different activities, some of which I've already mentioned. But for this specific project, the pre-enrollment course, I have a working group. They don't have big muscles, but some of them like to think maybe they do, the PEC working group. So to kick off, so we ran a couple of surveys last year, one for staff. It was possibly the shortest survey we've ever sent out to staff, and they were quite pleased that we did so. It just has 2 questions, one of which is, what digital skills do you expect your students to have when they arrive and start your programme? And the second question is, on what digital skills do they seem to routinely lack? And that was it. And if they wanted to provide their name, that was great. It wasn't obligatory. And we targeted a number of staff. So we had 17 colleagues give us responses back, which doesn't sound loads, but actually that was kind of more than enough because we were coming back with very similar results. Then we did a student survey. We opened it up to first years across the consortium. We asked them 4 questions. What digital skills did you have when you arrived at university? What did you need that you didn't have, that you realised you didn't have? How did you acquire these skills? What did you do to get them? And what advice would you give any first years coming in based on what you've found out? So we had 63 students respond to that. Again, not loads, not significantly remarkable, but plenty for us to get working on. So we collated all of the results that we got from all of our students, and based on the data, we started to identify the areas of this pre-enrollment course that we knew that we would need to cover. So this is like the spreadsheet taken from collating all our data. So we started realizing that all of the teaching staff, you know, for example, 11 teaching staff said they needed something on Microsoft Word, working in documents like that. That cloud storage didn't come up at all. We thought it would. We grayed it out because only one person thought it would be significantly important. Not to say we didn't include it, but this really got us going, start thinking about how to design and shape the course. At the same time as collecting our data and finding out what our stakeholders wanted, we scoped out what resources already existed internally. So we looked at all of our 6 institutional partners, VLEs, we got access to the sort of digital skills courses that they already offered, making sure that obviously the resources there were openly available. And then we went external, so we asked sort of local friends if they had anything in the open that we would be able to use in this course. Now, it's important at this stage to realise that our course was an overview of the kind of digital things that a student would come across once they started their academic career programmes. We weren't going to be learning anything per se. We weren't going to be teaching how to create a video, but it was more of a kind of a heads up. This is what you're going to be faced with when you start your program, whether it was undergraduate, postgraduate, distance learning, or what. We wanted to make this as inclusive as possible. Our mantra of the whole course was so that there'd be no surprises when you went through those classroom gates. So based on all of the research that we collected, we were able to refine and decide on the 4 main areas of our course. So sort of topic 0 is what is digital skills? What are digital skills? What do we mean by this? Section 1 is about general technologies, so working with files, understanding what file types mean. It's important that students understand that they need to save documents into PDF if they want to be, they're going to be using Turnitin. Office applications, search engines, those kind of things. The learning technology section is around things like the VLE, forums in the VLE, assignments and assessments, and the use of video, lecture capture. We wanted to tell our students before they got into the classroom that a lot of their stuff would actually be filmed, and they can think about how they'll use that recording. For many of our students, we're anticipating it will be the first time they'll ever have used a VLE, certainly Moodle in an HE setting. So if nothing else, this course will give them a taste for that. The third option is all around safety, security and access, logging in. Some of our students, I've heard colloquially, come to the help desk because they can't get into Moodle. I've logged onto my laptop and I can't access Moodle. I don't understand why. Well, you have to log in to various different university systems. There are lots of usernames and passwords involved when you're at university. And the final section is about getting organised. So that's online note-taking, annotating, understanding referencing, time management. So this is another spreadsheet that we designed to start really honing in and really we use this as the course map to structure the course. And if the link works, we can go into it more fully. So it's all there. So all these different colours refer to a different topic section. Oops. And in terms of how we managed the project, there was myself and my colleague Nancy, who hopefully is tuning in live at the moment, and we use Google Drive to store all of our shared documentation. We work disparately across 6 different institutions, and our small working group, we wanted to ensure they had access to everything as we went along. We used Blackboard Collaborate quite often. Again, although we're located all in London, Nancy, for example, lives in Dorset, so we needed to make sure we all got together virtually. So that's just a snippet of a Blackboard Collaborate session we ran as Nancy was starting to start structuring the course to show the working group where she was at. Nancy really is truly the architect and the key designer behind the course. So let's have a look at the actual course. So we use Moodle. Our course is a generic course. It sits in our sort of shared version of Moodle. And there you go, that's the landing page with a bit of information, a very short introduction. That is section 0. What is this course? If we click into the Learning Technologies section, it takes you to that, and there are only about, I think it's 4 sections in this course on learning technologies. We don't want to overwhelm these students. Potentially, they might be sitting on a beach in Ibiza. They haven't yet started their courses, so we don't want to stress them out before they even start. But it's just to give them that taste of flavour, a heads up of what's to come. So you can see in the learning technology section, we've got a bit about an online learning environment, the forums, the assessments and assignments, and the video that you will be using or having access to video recordings. And at the end of each section, we've got a quiz. Students are expected to get 100% in this quiz of 4 or 5 very simple questions. They can keep retaking it until they get the 100%, and then they get a badge at the end. So it's all kind of subtly demonstrating what it will be like to do an online course. And then that is, if I click into the assignments and assessments section, that is about the size of a page that we have on each topic. There's no scrolling. There might be a video. We've taken a lot of University of Derby's brilliant animation and videos about digital capabilities. There might just be a still image, something to make it look nice. And right at the very bottom of this page is a quote, which we've pinched. We didn't have to make any quotes up, which was brilliant. We were considering it. But we got enough of those quotes from those students. And that 4th question, what advice would you give incoming students? So right now, literally at this very moment, we're running our pilots. So out of the 6 institutions I work for, 3 institutions are now piloting the course. So they've taken a copy of the pre-enrollment course from our shared Moodle and dropped it into their own. So that is the Royal Veterinary College's version of the course, that is Birkbeck's, and that is SOAS's. So you can see it's the same course in different Moodles. And right now, they're piloting. So right at the very end of the course, we've embedded a survey, which I haven't looked today, but we've already got at least 2 or 3 responses from. This is a very quick survey to ask them what did they think of the course. So I found this course, and they've put in a load of different adjectives for them to describe. Too much information, boring, confusing, but we've put in some positives mixed in there as well. We don't want to force anyone one way or the other. We asked them which bits they liked the best. They can tick all of those. How difficult or easy they found their way to navigate through the course, and a bit about them, so we know which level of study they're in, which institution, and their age range, and how they were accessing the course. So, as I said, we've already had at least response, and one of them says, I am useless with computers, so the basic guidance which assumed no knowledge was useful. So that was good going from our second respondent to the survey. And then once we have, as the focus groups, as the survey, as the pilots progress, we'll collect some focus groups based on the students who are happy for us to contact them afterwards. So what next? We're planning a full rollout 2019, so possible another presentation at AltC next year. And our plan is to open up the course to everyone, to the world. You couldn't see it earlier, but there is a Creative Commons license already attached to the course, so it will be properly openly available. But if anybody would like to take a sneaky peek at it and have a look at it now, I would be very happy to let you in. So just grab me at the end or drop me a line. And that's it. So I think we came up with a really clever metaphor for this presentation, which is something about unlocking the stable door. So I think it's around ensuring our students, we might be checking they've got digital capabilities for the workplace, but actually let's just unlock the door, give them those digital capabilities now, and then they're free to leave the stable.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Sarah. And just on time. That's fantastic. Okay. So, You've taken my advice and you've asked lots of questions, so I don't have to.
Oh,
So-
God.
A little bit
Please,
of
I've got my
heads up
glasses
then.
on.
Oh yeah, I can't read that. Right, first of all then, is there a difference between digital skills and digital fluency that is investigated in your data?
It's a good question. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to answer it fully, but I'll do the politician thing. So I think there is a really fuzzy line between digital skills generally, so understanding the software, and, you know, if we talk about note-taking, for example, understanding, you know, the different Evernote and Google Docs and what there is. And I think there's a difference between knowing that and applying those. So how to actually take annotations and notes pedagogically for informing learning. That's not what we're doing in this course. It's not so much study skills as technology. So these are the tech tools or platforms that you'll be coming across when you're at university.
Good, so thank you. I hope that answers whoever asked
Email
that
me if you want to
question,
chat
but
more.
Yeah, please do talk to Sarah afterwards. Right, second one then, quickly. Do you already use Google tools for learning? For example, Gmail, Drive, Docs?
Yeah, so some of our institutions do. Obviously, we're 6 independent, separate institutions. SOAS, for example, is fully Googled. They got Google Apps for Education, gosh, I don't know, 7 years ago, whenever it came out. So staff and students at SOAS are using Gmail and Drive for everything. At Birkbeck, it's just for Gmail, and then other institutions can use it if they want to use it. So there's no hard and fast rule.
Brilliant, thank you. Then thirdly, what's the level and quality of engagement with the course?
Well, I don't know yet. We literally, because it's a pre-enrollment course, it's happening right now. We've let students loose on it. So the 3 pilots that we've got running, for example, at the Royal Veterinary College, where I took lots of these photos of probably quite ill horses, but
Yeah,
hopefully
got a
they're
good
all on the mend. The RVC is piloting it with 1 BSc course, so it's a full cohort, and the first years, they haven't yet started. So the moment the IT sets up their accounts, they'll be in. Birkbeck, we think we've got a number of courses. We've got some nods for some academics who are running those. And at SOAS, we've got some what they call bridging students. So they're international students, and they come over a couple of weeks before term starts to kind of get orientated, do a bit of language stuff, and this course will support them. So I don't know, ask me again in 3 months. We'll see how we go.
Take her email address. Thank you. Right. So do you have a minimum standards for Bloom use of staff?
Minimum standards of the BLE?
I think
Bloom.
BLE.
Right, minimum
Use
standards.
of staff for, so students can be sure they will get what they have learned.
I'm not sure if I understand the question, but what I
That's
can
right,
say
very
is,
probably.
I guess with all the consultation and studying, we approached lots of academics. I think, Liz, you were probably one of the ones who filled in the survey for us. We made sure that all the institutions could be covered, so what their needs and requirements were, so that the course would be met. But there isn't anything formal as a minimum standard. Certainly the institutions don't all have the minimum standards for the BLE, but I don't know if that was the question.
Sorry.
Do you want...
Sorry, yeah, do you want
One of the things to bear in mind is that we customised
Oh,
links to our local. So the group created the group kit.
Yep.
Thank you. The group created the course, and when it was handed over, we've actually gone in and customised it. So it links to all of the support materials, all of the contact details of the host institution. So with regard to that, if they need additional support in the resources section, they should know where to go. So we're signposting as we go along.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for reminding me that. And Elizabeth spent about an hour personalising the Birkbeck version of the course. So we provided guidance to our piloting and anyone else which bit needed personalising. And I think in the actual template course, those bits are highlighted in red so people know what they need to change to make it fit for their institution.
Just disclosure, it was me that put that question.
Oh, sorry.
I put BLE because you refer to it as Bloom's Learning
Yes.
Environment.
Yes.
I would have put BLE. But it's kind of a bit of an age-old question. You know, we have these ideas at our institution. Should it be a minimum standard that lecturers put all their lecture captures up there? Can students expect when they come to the institution, I will see all my lecture captures, I will see all my PowerPoints, I will see a picture of my lecturer, and that's kind of what I was trying to ask.
Got it.
In terms of
Yes.
with the course design actually on the course
Sorry.
page?
So actually, I think it's, sorry, thank you, Elizabeth, I think answered that, so that each institution will have a different take on it. So from my point of view, I've done the generic template course, and then it's up to the institution how they want to localise that. If they want to get rid of that whole section on lecture capture, it would be a shame, because we worked hard on it, but, you know, they can do that.
Okay, thank you. Then lastly, for our next presenter, you asked students for their age. Was this relevant?
Don't know, yeah. I mean, probably not, but let's find out.
Okay, right. Well, if you'd like to show your appreciation in the normal way.
Oh, Mike.
Then we have Patrick, who's going to talk about apprenticeships. Now, JISC has 10 apprenticeships, so I'm very interested to hear what he has to say about them and the use of technology.
Oh, I was going to say I've clicked the wrong one. Why is that not closing? I'll do mine if you don't mind. So, as it says up there, my name's Patrick Viney and I'm a learning technologist at Northumbria University. And for 2 years now, I've been working specifically with degree apprenticeships. And the journey that I've taken has taken me through doing a requirements appraisal to see exactly what technology degree apprenticeships need within the university, going through the various options to fulfill those needs, and actually implementing a solution. And today what I want to do is give you a taster for all the work that I've done. I can't summarise everything into 15 minutes, but give you a taster of what I've done and the solutions that I've come up with. And what I try to do is bring very simple, very practical, very easy solutions to quite complex problems. And this is where I'm going today. That's a quote from the Times Higher Education in April the 1st this year. Degree apprenticeships are quietly revolutionising higher education. And what I'm going to be talking about is what makes a degree apprenticeship different from a normal degree. Why does it need different technology? And then looking at the gaps and the solutions. So what does make it different? The funding model. I've got a 16-year-old son who I'm trying to talk into going into a degree apprenticeship, and I just went up to him one day and said to him, £100,000. And he said, "What, Dad?" I said, £100,000. That is the difference between if you go on a 3-year university degree and you end up with a £46,000 debt, and you go on a degree apprenticeship for 3 years and you earn money whilst you're on that degree apprenticeship. That is the difference for him. So where's this money come from? It comes from a thing called the apprenticeship levy. Every business in this country which has over £3 million worth of wages bill has to pay 0.5% of their wages into an apprenticeship levy. That apprenticeship levy they can use then to train apprentices within their organisation. The rest goes into a pot, and smaller and medium-sized businesses can use it. So there's a lot of funding from the government going into these apprenticeships, and now they can be at degree level. And this is why it's changing the face of universities, because we're finding some part-time courses, say a part-time course in management, where the company would have paid in previously, they'll be putting apprentices in. So we are seeing this gradual change of where we're going because of this funding model. It's obviously very, very complex, the funding model, but basically the individual benefits by not having to pay the university fees, are paid by the organisation. The employers benefit because they get somebody who's gone all the way through university specifically looking at their business. And so it's a win-win situation for everybody but the employers who are paying into the apprenticeship levy and not using their apprenticeships. The next big change for the university is we're used to the student-university relationship. The big change is now our partner is the employer and the professional bodies. So we've got these people other people, not only do we sell the courses to the employers, but we have this relationship with them, which means that our insular technologies, the likes of our VLEs, the likes of all the technologies we've got, which just go between us and the student, how do we get that out to the outside world? So we've suddenly got these new stakeholders. The relationship between workplace learning and academic learning, a lot of undergraduates are fully full-time students. An apprentice will be working 80% of their time working and 20% at university. How do we create that synergy between what they're doing at work and university to enhance their learning? Yes, traditional degrees, there are some nursing teaching where that happens, and they're the ones I've used for models for that. And the final one is, once they get the degree, they don't finish their apprenticeship. They've got to go on for an endpoint assessment. So we're doing more work, and the endpoint assessment is set down by government apprenticeship standards. So that's what makes degree apprenticeships different. And the tell need I've got up there, this is the gap. Our technology and the way we tended to use it, the VLE, lecture recording, it's all about getting things out from the university, the institution, to the individual. Whereas in this case, it's how does the individual have an easy means of gathering, storing, cataloguing evidence. How do we get them to start reflecting on it, deeper reflection on their learning? And there's specific logistics we've got to record for degree apprenticeships. We've got to record how much time they spend off-the-job training, how much time their employers spend there. This is quite difficult things. We've got to have records of mentor meetings and workplace visits. There's a thing called a tripartite meeting where you've got to have four every year between a member of university staff, the apprentice, and the mentor in the apprentice's workplace. And what we also need is a means to share information securely with the apprentice, university tutors, and then out into the workplace as well. And our systems tend not to do that. And as I've said, endpoint assessment, we need this portfolio of evidence, and we also need minimal administration, because like with everything, we don't have huge budgets for administration. So at Northumbria, we came up with, CMDA stands for Chartered Manager Degree Apprenticeships, and it was a chartered manager that we came up with this model of how we gather evidence from the workplace and how we use it. And there was 3 levels of it. The first level, the informal capture of evidence. How do we encourage the apprentice to capture the evidence in its raw state in the workplace, whether it be documents, photographs, videos, and meeting records? And I will be showing you a live example of that today, how we do that. And it's got to be with the mobile phone. It's got to be that simple. Click, done, and you've got it there. The next thing is a more formal way of doing it. This is where we're creating the synergy between the evidence they've collected in the workplace and the learning, encouraging reflection through reflective templates, journal entries, blogs, and building up on those experiences and recording their experiences, not just the evidence of them. And the final formal part of this is how do we then take the evidence they've captured, the resources, and put them into for summative assessments such as assignments and the portfolios. So moving on from there, what I'm going to do is just take you straight through to a quick demonstration of how I've used an app called PebblePad to do this. Now, PebblePad is known as an e-portfolio system, but we're using it as an individual learning system. So what I'm going to show you is a quick demonstration of how I might record a reflection, and then I'll show you something that I've recorded this morning, and one of the workbooks we use for recording mentor meetings and things like that. So if I go onto here, I want to record 20% time off. This does cause a problem for people, and like I say, I go for simple things, and I've created a simple template here. I'm in the student system here. I can just click that, an off-the-job training record, and I'm going to call this one Day 8 at University, and then select a date for it. Literally, I'm making things as easy as possible. and then just tick in the box what I've done. And all I require the students to do after that is give it a number of hours. And this way, I actually log what they're doing. That's all they've got to do to record their time off. And at the end of the first year now, we're at the stage where we're getting audits of these records. And these records, what we can do is pull them out of the system. So if I close that now, what I'll do is I'll show you how that's actually pulled into what we call a workbook. So if I go into there, this is a workbook which is provided to each of the students here, and the workbook pulls all these records together. There's a number of records I've shown you, or one record I've shown you there, which is the off-the-job learning record, off-the-job training record. There's reflective records, there's mentor meetings in there. All these records automatically come into this workbook here. So I've got my workbook there. If I go down there and have a look at the off-the-job learning records, you can see that I've got the number wrong, but day 8 of university is already in there, and it's been taken away from the amount of time that I should be spending off-the-job training. And that's all the person has to do. Also within there, I've got learning records. So I've got reflective learning records, and I've got in there a record of an experience that I've had today. So some of you might recognise the location there. I can take a quick photograph with my phone of any document that I want. I can reflect on it. I can then reflect on the keynote speaker. I can take photographs and do this while it's happening, and it's all there, ready for assessment. That was a reflection on the first speaker there. And I've even got my presentation as a PowerPoint there. And I just built that this morning as I was watching, and it's as quick as making the notes in any format that you want. And you've got the presentation there ready for submission for assessment. And then after that, if I wanted to share that with an employer, it's as simple as clicking a button and say, I want to share with people, and I put my employer's email address in there. And the student can do that. So we've got this very, very simple system there which allows me to share outside the university, and that's one of the crucial factors which we didn't have. So really, in summing up, I've taken a whistle-stop tour of a lot of work there, but there is this need for degree apprenticeships to go outside the university and share, and this is the solution we've come up with. I'm sorry I couldn't spend more time going over it with you, but I hope that's been a useful taster. Thank you very much.
So as I said, I've got a very vested interest in understanding all of this myself. But the audience have come up with some questions, so if you can whip through them fairly quickly to let the last presentation have their full 20 minutes. So, first of all, a bit contentious, you might give a quick answer to this because it's probably quite a long one, this value. If they're such good value economically, why isn't everybody doing one?
Right, a quick one. If they're good value economically, they're only for programs where there's a demand for the programs and there's the employer demand. So, and the government has to set down the standards for each program. So it's only programs where government has set down the standards for them. So we're quite restricted in the number of programs. And from a university's perspective, it's more expensive to deliver a degree apprenticeship for the same amount of money as it is for an undergraduate degree because of the endpoint assessment and because of the support there. So it's a lot more expensive for the university, so a lot of universities are stepping back.
Oh, interesting. I hadn't heard that one before. We've got some more questions now. Have you used PebblePad to replace your VLE?
No, we use it completely alongside the VLE. I consider them to be totally complementary. The VLE is very much about the organisation given to the student. We put our lecture captures on there, we put everything on there. We use PebblePad for the students to capture and send back to us. So it's completely the opposite. So it will never replace our VLE, but they work very well together.
Okay. Then the model is designed for a non-technical subject. how can this model be translated into a programming or network engineering discipline from an evidential perspective?
I wasn't expecting. I feel like saying pass on that one. But yeah, it was a specific
liked it, so
it was a specific model designed for the chartered manager. But even with anything, a technical subject, you've still got to gain your evidence. Yeah, the technical evidence, you've still got to reflect on it and you've still got to submit it. So we've got those 3 stages. And the first challenge is always getting people to record that evidence. So whether that evidence be something physical like a photograph or a video, or whether it be a program, whether it be a website somebody's done, whether it be a piece of art, they can still reflect on it. They can still have, this is my piece of art, this is my reflection on how I've done it, and this is how it's assessed.
Okay, in the interest of time, I'm going to combine 2 questions. So one has asked, how do you tackle the degree component? And then a second question was, has there been a challenge for staff adjusting to the teaching in block rather than more continually?
The challenge with all the degree components is the employers want that degree focused towards their staff and their staff's needs. So with the manager, for example, we've got an open program, which is attendance once a week, where apprentices will come from a number of organisations. We've also got a closed program where they come for 2 weeks every semester. And then we've got another closed program where they come once a week. So you've got different modes of attendance, and you have the employers wanting specific tailoring of the course to suit their needs.
So it is really employer-driven.
It is employer-driven. The influence of employers can't be emphasised enough, because they've got a choice between one university and another university, and it's money. They'll choose the ones that are best.
Brilliant. Okay, well, we've got loads more questions, but unfortunately we've run out of time. So I'm sure that Patrick will be available in the space downstairs or in the foyer after the session. So please do ask him about that, because I think, as he's mentioned, it's a growing type of course delivery. So it's good to be briefed up on it. And so lastly, but not least, we have a consortium. We have a little ensemble coming up. We're going to do a little routine together. An international group that have winged their way here from all parts of the UK. And so I'll let them introduce themselves.
This is both our coordination we've got a different way.
Oh, right, am I going first? Right, okay. Right, okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody. We're perhaps more an omnishamble than an ensemble, but we'll do our best. So this is the Bring Your Own Device for Learning coordination team. We thought we'd share some of our experiences of running an open collaborative online event for staff development. And what we thought we'd do is take a bit more of an autoethnographic approach and just share some of our motivations and reasons for being involved and continuing to be involved in this event. I think for Neil, Alex and myself, and Deb as well, for about 5 years now.
5 years.
5 years we've been doing it. So we just want to share with you a few of our findings, and yeah, there may be juggling later as well. So one of the things we wanted to talk about was using Chrissy's model, and obviously we have to give a big shout out to Chrissy and Sue Beckingham, who actually devised the original Bring Your Own Device for Learning, and David Hopkins as well. But this model that you can see from Chrissy is part of her PhD research. One of the things I think we found as a group working and running this event is that the group has become very, very important, and I think the support that we give to each other is really quite fundamental in the success of running the event itself. So I think for a week, we actually probably all live in that group. It feels like that, certainly every night at 8 o'clock when the tweet chats start. I'm not so sure down there about the high group expectations, but I think there are expectations, and you know, we want the experience for everybody else that's participating in the event to be as positive and successful for them as possible. So there are some expectations on us, and I think we get a lot of support from the group. We do synchronous and asynchronous communication. So this model, I think we would like to take some more time to explore, because it resonates with some of the things that we have just noticed and talked about anecdotally. So I just wanted to share a little bit of that, and that's something that we would like to follow up in more detail later. But I'm now going to pass on to Alex.
Thank you. I think the theme of this week's conference is like community, and it's community that's created bring your own devices for learning, and it's community that keeps it together as well, because we do come together over 5 days, once a week, to look at these 5 C's, the themes, and it was created, as was said, by Sue Beckingham and Chrissy Naranci, and it's been developed kind of like over a period of time. We haven't kind of like thrown the baby out with the bathwater. We've kind of recognised that they've created something quite special, something very useful, and something that is very engaging as well. So what we've done is just, I guess, tinkered around with it at the edges. So for example, this year, these were the original kind of like themes for each of the evening's tweet chats. We've just augmented them slightly to bring in, so like, I guess more critical kind of approach to each of those themes, and extending them out and asking kind of the participants to think about how they use social media and digital devices, and bring your own devices in very different ways, and to kind of like be more critical about what they do. And I guess also it allows us that kind of that playful element, you know. So as we're saying, we've been in this group for like 5 years now. We encourage each other to try new things out. I'm a little bit of a curmudgeon, if I'm completely honest. So having a Bitmoji on screen in front of lots of people kind of makes me feel a little bit like this. But with the kind of like the support of the group, it's helped me kind of like try and understand these different types of technologies, because these are the kind of the types of technologies that students are using. They're communicating in these different ways, and while it's not always comfortable for us to kind of be in these spaces, we sometimes feel a little bit of an imposter syndrome. I think it's important to recognise that there is that communication is going on in these spaces, and that's kind of really important. I just one other thing to say, so just to kind of like talk about kind of like one of the motivations for me to kind of like be in this group continually is that it kind of works hand in hand with what I do in my current institution, that's the University of Liverpool. So during the week that we deliver these sessions online, I badge CPD events around it. So we have a social media forum where we come together and talk about ideas, technologies and approaches. But at the same time, we also kind of teach academic staff to use Twitter in their teaching. And that's kind of really important, to have that dialogue between the face-to-face and online. So I think I'm probably talked too much, so I'm going to move over.
Okay. Thanks, Alex. So Neil Whitnell from the University of Salford, and just looking back, 2014 seems such a long time ago. That was when the first iteration of Bring Your Own Device for Learning first ran. Sue and Chrissy in the background were coordinating that week. Alongside Alex, I think there were 10 other facilitators, and over the last 6 iterations, we've been the facilitation team. But I think the main message is you don't have to be special to be in that facilitation team. The facilitation team's changed, so it's very much community, which I think draws people back. Because I was thinking the other night, well, actually, I've been doing this for 5 years. Why do I keep coming back and keep coming back? Because every year is different. And not only is it just that 1 week, it's an open course. That website's available all year round, so I can find myself dipping back in and out of it, reflecting back and forward. So I think the community actually makes it, and that for me is why I keep coming back. So it's just after Christmas, it's January, it's dark nights, it's cold, but it's actually a really enthusiastic week. It's a long week, but it's really important to condense it to that week, because we had a conversation about whether we expand it over longer periods of time, but actually just condensing it really works. And like I say, you just keep finding yourself going back and back. 5 years seems a long time, but then again it doesn't. I'm learning stuff every time I go in there, which I think's a testament to the technology, but also the community itself. We're bringing new things in, like the Bitmoji, for example. So I'll pass on to our next speaker.
Hi everybody, my name is Debbie Bath and I'm a Senior Academic Developer at Swansea. That's Sheila though, that's not me. Was I supposed to come in there? There you go. So I just wanted to say, when I started being involved with Bring Your Own Device for Learning, I was very much kind of on the periphery and I was quite new to it, and it was quite a challenge to be able to jump in really and try and get involved. Look at me now. And it is a case of constantly learning. There's so much that I've learned from it. Loads of different kind of tools that come out of it, but also actually it's a really good way to network with people. Can I just get a show of hands? Who's actually been involved with Bring Your Own Device for Learning, this course? Have we only got one? Okay, all right then. Next one. Anybody fancy having a go next time around? Yay! Great. Honestly, I really would. If you want to check out the kind of things that we do, we can share some links with you later. It's not just on Twitter, it's on Google Plus as well, all sorts of things. And I would really encourage anybody to get involved, really, because there's a lot of opportunities that have come out of it. Things like this, working on cross-collaborative papers, and we hope to do some more research, which hopefully Sheila will tell you a bit more about in a second. Okay.
Well, I might not, but I might. Okay. So yeah, the revelation for the team this year has been from Suzanne with Bitmojis. Who knew you could have so much fun just making? So I guess sort of just to echo what Alex and Neil and Debbie have said, that I really enjoy getting involved in that week in January, because you feel like you're part of a team, but it's an extended team. So it's not my everyday team at work, but I'm connecting with people across the country and internationally as well. I'm quite surprised about how many people get up in the middle of the night or early morning to take part in our tweet chats. And it seems to give a focus for people. And I think there's something about doing something quite openly. This is very much an open staff development opportunity. Students can take part if they want. It tends to be more staff. Usually at my institution, I find that it's around about exam time, so it's a bit harder to get students involved anyway, because they've got other things on their mind. But like Alex has said, I've been able to do different things with Bring Your Own Device for Learning within my institutional context. I've run sessions around it. I've got people to talk about how they curate within the university. For example, we've been able to use the library and share some of the learning technologies that people might not be aware of, that are new learning technologies. So there's lots of things that we can do around about that as well with that week. But I think, again, the other thing that I find very motivational is, like Deb was saying, you're always learning something, but just being able to speak to other people, it's kind of like a mini conference in a way, just actually having that space every night to have a focused tweet chat, even though it is very fast-paced and it can be quite manic. It's almost quite reassuring, and there's something about the supportiveness and the collaboration of that open community that's incredibly motivating and inspirational. So I find that keeps me interested and makes me want to be part of and continue to be part of that community as well. But I'm going to pass over now to our newest member, Suzanne, who's going to take, because Suzanne, you were completely, you had never had anything to do with that, and you just jumped in completely to it. So I'll just, yeah.
So I was invited to join Bring Your Own Device for Learning from Alex. I had absolutely no idea what it was about and said yes to it and jumped into it. So immediately I was struck by imposter syndrome. I didn't know what was involved. I didn't know whether I had the skills or the capabilities to deal with the challenges that were involved in this week. So certainly, but I went for it. And I think being part of Bring Your Own Device for Learning gives you that safety and opportunity to try new things in a supportive environment. One of those things was recording an introductory video. All of the facilitators had to record an introductory video. I did mine, obviously it was in the winter in Scotland. I started in daylight and I finished when it was dark. To be fair, it was winter in Scotland. There's not many hours of daylight anyway. But I literally did take 52 takes of this video to get it right. I think after 24, I was quite happy. I sent it to Alex and said, what do you think? And he said, oh, well, you've done it in portrait. We really want these things to be in landscape. So 28 tries later, I had my video. But I guess just having that, being able to, that confidence to know that you're in a supportive environment to try new things. And one of the galling things about this, and you'll see there's different times on the video. Some of them were 2 minutes, 4 seconds before I had to bin it. Others, I fluffed up between 1 minute and 21 seconds. But the end of it culminated in me juggling. So I was talking about having my working life, my home life, and this was the fragility and my imposter syndrome about what happens if things go wrong. So the end of the video involved me juggling, so I'm going to give that a bash now. I will admit that I have actually hard-boiled this egg. I didn't do that at home, so this is me trying to juggle my work life. So I'm just going to pass over to Alex now to talk about the opportunities that Bring Your Own Devices Learning has brought to all of us.
And that egg came all the way from Scotland.
It did.
And it actually got mentioned on the Me Too yesterday. Does everyone travel from Scotland with a hard-boiled egg? No, that's true. It definitely doesn't. I think, as we've said, it is kind of like a really kind of useful way of extending your personal learning network and actually finding support out there because there are lots of learning technologists, educational developers who are really keen to harness the technologies that we have within our institutions. And this is just one other way, which is very easy, supportive, friendly, and kind of like low risk way that you can get involved to kind of develop your skills in whatever kind of like technology that you're interested in. So I think that's kind of really important. It does force us to kind of try out new tools. Last night I tried out Snapchat, which I'm almost ashamed to admit. And you know, it was okay. Some of the filters were horrific, if I'm totally honest. But you know, and again, this is another tool that kind of like the students that are coming into our institutions are using and communicating kind of like, you know, almost every single day. So we have to, at very least, understand some element of it. And the fact that it's cross-institutional collaboration as well, I think is really important. We're all working kind of like different parts of the universities that we work in. And that just helps with that kind of like context setting, where we are, the developments and changes, because what you tend to find is that universities, even though they've got different names and they're from the Russell Group or elsewhere, they tend to have the same kind of issues and same type of problems. So being that kind of like sharing community behind us is kind of really valuable for me and everyone associated with it. And also it gives us the opportunity to kind of like come and share the work that we do. And I say work in the loosest sense. It is an incredible, not that bad. I mean this in the sense that it's an incredible amount of fun working with these guys every January, and just kind of like, it just makes that whole kind of experience of your kind of 9 to 5 and beyond much more pleasurable. So thank you all for that. I was forced to add this in last minute. But it's not all about us. We do need kind of new people, as we've seen, fresh people to come in with new ideas and help develop and change this course. And that's what we've got, and that's what we'd like you to be involved in. So get in touch with us, speak to any of us at the conference over the next couple of days, if you're fortunate enough to be here for those 3 days. Or get in contact with us on Twitter. All our handles are there, and you can actually see a little bit more about the course from the link up there. And if you're looking for more references, there's a couple here. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. So, I think you did answer it in especially the last part, but there are a few people just sort of wondering, what actually is it? It's obviously great fun. My question is, do you have a Facebook page?
We did. I think we did at one point.
It's on Twitter.
But yes, Google Plus and Twitter seem to be the spaces that people have gravitated towards. And yeah, Facebook doesn't seem so much. And I'm not sure if that. I think it kind of reflects certainly my relationship with Twitter, with Facebook. I think quite a lot of people now just want Facebook to be for family and friends and not for work stuff. So I think there was a bit of that. But I think, you know, thinking about new technologies, Snapchat, I mean, one of the things that Suzanne did, as well as just coming in to be a facilitator, Suzanne shared how she had been using Snapchat with her students, and you wrote a case study and you did a blog post. So I think in a week there was a huge amount of digital capabilities that were kind of wrapped up in that week. So we you know, that's the whole point of the week, is to get people to talk about how they're using different technologies. But if anyone wanted to be part of Bring Your Own Device for Learning and wanted to set something up in Facebook, absolutely fine. You can go ahead and do that. We wouldn't stop anyone doing that. We wouldn't stop anyone doing anything. We encourage it. It was just, we found that people, it seems to be Google Plus and Twitter and the thing. And I suppose just to give a sort of overview, so every week we have 5 days, so each day has a theme, as Alex said. And we have a blog post that will give you some suggested links, some things you might want to talk about. And then each night we have a tweet chat, usually from 8 till 9. And that has tended to be, I think in the last 3 years, that's where most activity takes place. It's a huge amount. And people seem to, I don't know, because it's the dark nights or something, people have a cup of tea and get on Twitter. And yeah, it's quite cathartic.
Quite often there's challenges within that tweet
Yeah,
chat where
yeah, we
people
have
are
questions.
using new tools.
Yeah.
That's
So has
opportunity.
anybody else got any further questions on what it is, how to get involved?
You don't have to be able to juggle, by the way.
No, we can't.
So do you get an entry assessment?
Pardon?
How qualified do you have to be?
Oh, no, it just has to be, not at all. I mean, if you want to be no, it's for anyone. I mean, basically, I mean, I don't know if any of us are qualified to do any of it. To be a facilitator, the only thing we would ask is time.
Yeah.
You know, because if you're kind of one of the facilitators, you have to do a bit more of the organisation, so there's a bit more involved in that, but not a huge amount because it's a team effort, and everything sort of works out naturally. If you want to be a participant, again, you know, there's absolutely no qualifications, and if you're curious about using social media, particularly in learning and teaching, taking part in a tweet chat is a great way to just experience it. You don't have to answer, and you can just watch. So the only qualification we'd ask is just a willingness to be part of something.
You don't have to do the whole week.
No,
either.
you
can
just
dip
dip in and out,
and
you know,
do
it's-
one
it's-
day or do an hour or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Sorry, the question.
Has the group emerged from this idea of bring your own device? We seem to talk quite a lot about just using tools for learning, using new tools for learning.
Well, I think when it started, I think because BYOD was kind of the thing, probably 5 years ago, it was a big thing, and it's just now we still use that. I think it's more kind of almost like a brand, but yeah, it's extended. It's less about your own device, and it's more about the general use of technology and learning, I would say. So it's opened up, but you know, it still has that. We've got the hashtag, and it's got that kind of identity, but it's moved on from that. So the original focus was very much kind of, I think that was probably when iPads came out, and more people would get that Christmas, everyone got an iPad, I think. But it's good.
Listening to it, I mean, from what you said, the actual week, which is kind of like a creative course almost, by the sounds of it, you know, these kind of tweet chats, it sounds like, you know, a really useful thing for people who are just thinking about maybe wanting to use new tools for
Yeah,
learning.
yeah.
It took me a while to get my head around why it's called Bring Your Own Device.
Yeah.
Explain it now, it's really-
We should have done that at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Note to self.
Possibly you need to rebrand it to sort of extend its reach.
Yeah, we possibly. Yeah. Again, that's why we need new people and new ideas.
Come along.
Volunteered.
That sounded like a volunteer to me.
Yeah, it did. So to give you an idea about, I mean, we have probably about a couple of hundred people every night on the tweet chats. We, you know, I think over the week we get something, we certainly, you know, it's maybe about 10,000 tweets. It's, you know, it's not as big as all in terms of Twitter.
Twitter, one of you.
Yeah, we did. We did. I think every week.
The night I was presented.
Yeah, every year we break Twitter. So it is a great place to experiment if you haven't particularly more of the social media type tools, if you haven't used them, it's a good place to actually, and it's quite short as well, it's just a week. And as Deb said, you don't have to do all of the week, you can dip in and out.
I think as well, with regards to using new tools as a community, you might communicate with someone who says, right, I'm going to try this tool, will you try it too? And therefore you've actually got that impetus to try something because someone else is relying on you to try it as well. So, yeah.
And the conversation continues because on the way, travelling on the train yesterday on the way down, Suzanne was doing a Snapchat tutorial for us in Snapchat on the way.
So I use Snapchat as a tutorial tool with my students and I get really high levels of engagement. They don't engage on the forums in Moodle, but they're very much engaged in communicating on Snapchat.
Oh, when you get
So has
badges.
anybody else got any last questions before we draw it to a close? So, since especially we've got 5 presenters here, it would be very easy to get hold of them in the break that we've got now downstairs. And so, if you could all thank the presenters for a very interesting...
Take it, Echo.